Let's be honest, Vegas isn't cheap fun anymore. The city that used to feed millions of tourists with $4.99 steak dinners and all-you-can-eat buffets has quietly become one of the most overpriced food destinations in America. It's not just the fancy restaurants either. In 2025, even grabbing a quick snack on the Strip feels like you're paying resort prices for airport food. You land in Vegas, drag your bags into the hotel, and think, let's grab something quick before we hit the tables. But that something quick, a coffee and a sandwich, can run you $40. You laugh it off at first, thinking maybe you picked the wrong place. Then you start noticing it's everywhere. A $9 bottle of water in the minibar, $12 lemonade by the pool, $14 for a latte that tastes like it came from a gas station. And if you think that's bad, try ordering a meal for two. That same burger and fries combo that used to cost $15 is now $30, maybe $35 if you're anywhere near a casino floor. The data backs it up. According to the National Restaurant Association and Nevada's hospitality reports, menu prices across Las Vegas have risen by roughly 27% since 2020, and that's just the average. On the Strip, it's much worse. The city that once built its reputation on affordability is now testing how far it can push people before they snap. What's crazy is that Vegas didn't always operate like this. For decades, cheap food was part of the illusion. Casinos used it to keep you inside. You'd lose a few bucks on the slots, but hey, you got a free drink and a solid meal. It was part of the charm. You didn't feel robbed, you felt like you were in on the deal. But somewhere between corporate takeovers and post-pandemic recovery, that deal disappeared. The focus shifted from experience to extraction. Every item, every bite, every seat in the restaurant is now another revenue stream. Try finding a cheap meal today. Buffets, once the great equalizer of Las Vegas, are vanishing. The legendary buffets at properties like Mirage, Luxor, and even some Caesars venues have been quietly replaced with what they now call food halls. Trendy, photogenic, expensive. You're not paying for value anymore, you're paying for a curated vibe. That $60 buffet plate has turned into $60 worth of street tacos and sushi rolls served out of designer stalls. It's still cafeteria food, just rebranded with neon and hashtags. And don't think you can just walk off the Strip to save a few bucks. Locals know the trick used to be drive 10 minutes east, grab a decent meal for half the price. Not anymore. Inflation hit everything: rent, utilities, labor, and restaurant owners had to push prices up just to survive. Even small diners now charge $20 for a basic breakfast plate. According to local cost of living data, the average inexpensive meal in Las Vegas costs around $21, but that number jumps fast if you're near any resort or tourist hub. You can forget about splitting a $10 sandwich. That era's gone. What makes this whole thing worse is how sneaky the upcharges have become. You sit down for lunch and suddenly there's a venue fee, a service fee, a premium seating fee. One guest at Encore said his $29 poke bowl ended up costing $45 after delivery and service charges. It's like a game of financial roulette where every spin lands on more expensive than you thought. And it's deliberate. These aren't mistakes, they're policy. Hospitality groups have learned that most tourists don't notice until it's too late. They're already sitting down, already hungry, already committed, but this isn't just a money problem, it's a vibe problem. Vegas used to make you feel like a king, even if you were broke. You could drop $20 at a blackjack table, win or lose, and still feel like you belonged. The cheap buffets, the $1 shrimp cocktails, the bottomless coffee, they all told you the same thing. Welcome, stay a while. That psychological trick made Vegas the phenomenon it became. Now it's the opposite. Everything feels gated, metered, conditional. You're not welcomed anymore, you're processed. And it hits hardest when you sit down to eat. The irony is that the high prices aren't even buying better quality. Locals and visitors alike complain that service is stretched thin, portions are smaller, and everything feels pre-packaged. A bartender who's worked the Strip for 20 years told the Review Journal, "It's not the Vegas I knew." Guests pay more, but they get less. And he's right. In 2025, luxury often means paying double for the same experience wrapped in LED lighting. So how did we get here? Part of it's the pandemic hangover. When casinos closed in 2020, corporate investors swooped in and restructured everything. Wall Street owns the Strip now. MGM, Caesars, and a handful of big hospitality groups control almost every major restaurant, and they price them like hedge funds would, aggressively. The profit margins are the product, and the locals saw it coming. The moment private equity money poured into Vegas real estate, the magic started leaking out. Suddenly, the town built on generosity turned into a city obsessed with quarterly earnings. It's also about how the tourist economy changed. Vegas doesn't rely on gamblers anymore, it relies on spenders. The convention crowd, the bachelor parties, the social media influencers looking for content. These groups spend big on food and drinks, so the city priced everything for them. The problem is, when everyone prices for high rollers, the regular people disappear. Families from California who used to road trip in for the weekend now skip it entirely. They can get better value staying home or going to a tribal casino an hour closer. It's not like people aren't noticing. The complaints are everywhere. Reddit threads, travel forums, TikTok videos, tourists posting their receipts like crime evidence. $18 beer, $24 nachos, $60 breakfast for two that wasn't even good. There's even a Fox News segment titled "It's Nuts." Sky-high Las Vegas prices stun visitors, where guests openly said they wouldn't come back because the cost was ridiculous. Locals are saying the same thing. A KTNV poll this fall found almost half of Nevadans believe Vegas has become too expensive to visit. That's not just sticker shock, that's a trust problem. What's most dangerous about all this isn't that food is expensive, it's that the experience of Vegas, the spontaneous, come-as-you-are energy, is being replaced by frustration. You shouldn't need to run math before ordering breakfast. You shouldn't be thinking about credit card points before you order a drink. But that's what Vegas has done. It's turned pleasure into a payment plan. And that changes everything. The guy who might have tossed $100 on the roulette table now skips a spin because he spent it on dinner. The couple celebrating their anniversary suddenly realizes their entire food budget's gone by day 2. You feel it in the air. Fewer smiles, less tipping, more people checking prices before ordering. It's subtle, but it adds up. The fun is fading under the weight of the receipts. Still, some will argue it's the price of progress. Vegas has evolved, they'll say. It's a luxury destination now. Maybe that's true, but the luxury feels hollow. You can't charge Monaco prices when the service feels like an airport lounge. The Bellagio fountains still dance, the lights still glow, but the soul of the city, that cheap glamour that made Vegas irresistible, is slipping away. And when food prices hit a point where ordinary people can't afford to enjoy the city, that's not progress, that's collapse disguised as success. So what happens next? Maybe the city corrects. Maybe visitors push back hard enough that these corporations finally realize they've crossed the line. Or maybe not. Maybe the Strip just doubles down, chasing whales and influencers until there's nothing left but high-end dining rooms with empty tables. You can already see signs of it. Restaurants closing midweek, buffets converting into private events, locals skipping the Strip entirely. Vegas is still alive, but it's living off its past reputation, and reputations don't pay the bills forever. Here's the truth: when you can't afford to eat in Vegas, you can't afford to feel like you're in Vegas. That's the real loss. It's not about the money, it's about the magic. The moment the city stops feeding you, it stops feeding your imagination. And that's what made this place special in the first place. The dream is still there, it's just not free anymore. And the question everyone's quietly asking is the same. If the food costs this much, how long until the dream itself becomes too expensive to taste?